I used to think loneliness was silent. Not the soft, peaceful kind of silence people romanticize, like snow falling or pages turning in a dim library at midnight. I'm talking about the thick, stale quiet that settles in a house when you've stopped expecting anyone to say your name. The kind of stillness that absorbs every sound except the ones you don't want to hear. The kind that makes you start listening to things you shouldn't. My name is Aaron Hale. Until last winter, I lived alone on the outskirts of Ridgetown, in a small rental house my sister liked to call the retirement home for 30-year-olds. I was quiet, predictable, and, in her words, aging in dog years. The truth was less poetic. I was recently divorced, exhausted, and numb. My days followed the same pattern: work, late dinner, TV until I stopped feeling, then sleep. There was nothing extraordinary about me or the house, until the answering machine started leaving messages from tomorrow. It began on a Thursday night in early December, one of those wind-slapped evenings when the air feels electric before a storm. I remember microwaving leftover pasta while the TV droned in the background. My landline, yes, I still had one, sat on the counter next to the sink. It came with the house, and I had never bothered to unplug it. The answering machine attached to it was old, beige, and permanently smudged with previous tenants' fingerprints. Nobody ever called it. So when the machine clicked to life, click, whir, beep, I flinched hard enough to spill my food. I stared at it, waiting for the voice. You know that sound? Static, like breath pushing through broken wires? Then, Aaron, don't open the door. I froze. The voice was unmistakably mine. Not similar, not close, mine. Same tone, same slight rasp I get whenever I'm barely holding it together. The message lasted only 2 seconds. Then the machine clicked again and the tape stopped spinning. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Not because I was scared, not yet, but because of the last detail, the thing that should have been impossible. The timestamp blinking on the tiny red screen said, Fry, 7:12 p.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow. The message said it was recorded tomorrow. I told myself it was a glitch, an electrical surge, a corrupted tape. Maybe old messages were resurfacing with the wrong timestamp. But I couldn't stop replaying the sound of the voice in my mind. My voice. Urgent. Afraid. Don't open the door. Which door? When? Why? I tried calling my own number from my cell phone. It rang. The landline didn't answer. The storm started 20 minutes later. Wind stabbed at the windows like needles, and the house made the kind of groaning noises old homes do when they're remembering they're still alive. I tried watching TV again, but every shadow in the hallway felt heavier, like something unseen was leaning into the walls. Around 10 o'clock, someone knocked on my front door. 3 times. Slow, heavy, deliberate. My stomach flipped, not because of fear, but because of the message. Don't open the door. I stood up, heart pounding harder than I wanted to admit, and walked toward the door. I didn't call out, didn't ask who it was. I just listened. Knock, knock, knock. I looked through the peephole. No one was there. Just the porch wet with rain, the street lamp flickering, the empty driveway. I took my hand off the lock, walked backward, sat down again.
The phone stayed silent the rest of the night. By the next morning, I had convinced myself it was all trivial. Lack of sleep, stress, and old machine malfunctioning. Maybe prank calls. Maybe my ex messing with me. Anything other than the impossible. I even unplugged the answering machine. Shook it once, then plugged it back in. The timestamp reset. No new messages. I should have thrown it out right then. Destroyed it. Burned it. Instead, that night, Friday, I sat in my kitchen staring at it, waiting for something I told myself wouldn't happen again. At 7:12 p.m. exactly, the machine clicked to life. Click. Whir. Beep. The voice that came through was mine, and it was screaming. Not loud, raw, like a sound someone makes when they realize everything they love has already been taken. The kind of scream that isn't about pain, but the moment right before it. The message lasted 5 seconds. Then this. He's already inside. I was gripping the counter so tightly my knuckles cracked. The timestamp. SAT, 7:12 p.m. Tomorrow. I checked the locks on every door twice, then 3 times. Turned every light on. Sat with my back to a corner of the room where I could see all entrances. Nothing happened that night. Not until 2:04 a.m., when something moved in the attic. A single, deliberate step. Then another. Slow, purposeful, heavy. Above me. Inside my house.
The sound in the attic was impossible to misinterpret. It wasn't the scurrying of a raccoon, not the flutter of a bird, not the old house settling under winter's breath. Those would be random, irregular, harmless. This was different. Slow, intentional steps, spaced apart, like whoever or whatever was up there was testing the boards before committing its weight. One step. Pause. Another. Pause. I stood completely still, listening so hard my ears started to ring. It felt like the entire house was holding its breath with me. Then came a third step, right above the kitchen. My breath hitched. The attic ladder was in the hallway, just a few feet away. If something was up there, it was separated from me only by a thin layer of plywood and insulation. I reached for my phone, not to call anyone, I didn't even know who I would call, but to give myself something to grip, something real, something that wouldn't vanish when I blinked. The fourth step was directly above the hallway, right over where the attic ladder was. It knows exactly where I am, something inside me whispered. I stayed frozen for several minutes. Eventually the sounds stopped, or maybe they continued and I just couldn't hear them over the blood rushing in my ears. Either way, I didn't sleep that night. I sat awake on the couch, eyes glued to the hallway, waiting for the slightest shift of shadow. At some point near dawn, I must have drifted off. When I woke up, the house was silent. Gray morning light crept through the blinds, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. Normal enough that I almost laughed at myself. Almost. But then, the landline rang. I jolted upright, heart slamming against my ribs. No one called that number. Ever. I stared at it from across the room, breathing carefully, scared to move toward it, but even more scared to let it ring unanswered. The answering machine clicked to life before I made a decision. Click. Whir. Beep.
The voice that came through wasn't mine. It was a woman's voice, shaking, frantic, breathless. "Aaron, listen to me. Do not go into the attic. Whatever you hear, whatever happens, do not—" Static swallowed her mid-sentence. The rest of the message dissolved into a sound I can only describe as someone being dragged across a floor, a muffled scream, a thud, then silence. The timestamp blinked. Sun, 9:03 a.m., tomorrow. I stumbled backwards, knocking over the lamp behind me. A woman? Who the hell was she? Why was she calling me from tomorrow? How did she know my name? How did she know about the attic? My skin crawled. Every hair on my body felt electrified. My first instinct was to get the hell out of the house, pack a bag, run, drive anywhere. But something held me in place. Fear, yes, but not just fear. Something deeper, something colder. Curiosity. The messages were coming from somewhere, from someone, maybe even someone I knew, or someone who knew me. Someone who was trying to warn me. Someone who was terrified enough to scream. And each message was one day ahead. A countdown. I didn't leave the house that morning, but I couldn't stay still either. I checked every window, every lock, every closet. I even pulled down the attic ladder, though I didn't climb it. I just stared into the black rectangle above, feeling cold air drift down like the exhale of something hiding just beyond sight. By afternoon, my nerves were frayed. I forced myself to eat something. Soup, I think, though I barely tasted it.
Hours passed without incident. Then, at 7:12 p.m., same time as the previous days, the answering machine clicked on again. Click. Beep. My voice. It's already too late. Nothing else. Just those 4 words. The timestamp read, Mon, 7:12 p.m., tomorrow. My chest tightened. Too late for what? For leaving? For staying? For listening? For ignoring? The messages were getting shorter, more urgent, and more disturbing. And the attic wasn't the only problem now. As I stood in the kitchen, trying to steady my breathing, I realized something else was wrong. The house felt heavier, like the air had thickened, like the walls were watching, like the shadows were leaning in, waiting. Every reflection in the windows looked slightly distorted, as if the glass were bending the image of the room just a little too much. The corners of each room felt darker than they should have been under the warm lights. I kept catching movement out of the edge of my vision, but when I turned, nothing was there. Around midnight, when the wind had calmed and the silence returned, I walked into my bedroom to grab a sweater. My bedspread was pulled halfway to the floor. I froze. I never left it like that. Then I saw it. A footprint. Right on the sheet near the bottom corner. Large. Bare. Human-shaped, but wrong. The arch was too shallow, the toes too long, and there were no toenails, just smooth, pale shapes pressed into the fabric. Something had been standing next to my bed, watching me sleep. I backed out of the room slowly, like someone moving away from a sleeping animal that might wake and tear them apart. I didn't take my eyes off that footprint, not for a second, until I was safely in the hallway. I didn't sleep, not even for a minute. The next day, Saturday, was worse. Not because the messages got worse, not because the attic sounded alive again,
Not because of the shifting reflections in the windows, but because around noon something new happened. The answering machine clicked on, without ringing, without any call. Just click. Beep. But this time, no voice spoke. Instead, I heard something faint. So faint I had to hold my breath to distinguish it. Not breathing, not whispering, scratching. Soft, rhythmic, like a fingernail dragging across the microphone. Then a small tap. Then another. Then, "I can see you." It wasn't my voice. It wasn't the woman's voice. It was something else entirely. Low, wet, close. The timestamp? Sunday, 12:02 p.m. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. That thing would be speaking to me.
The silence in my apartment felt heavier now, as if every piece of furniture, every inch of the walls were leaning inward to listen, waiting for the next message just as anxiously as I was. I didn't want to admit it, but something inside me was beginning to change. Every time that answering machine clicked or crackled, something deep in my chest responded with an instinct I couldn't name, like a string being plucked. I tried to distract myself, made coffee, paced the hallway, opened the blinds only to immediately shut them again because the outside world suddenly felt wrong, like it was only pretending to be normal. I checked the lock 3 times, then 4, then 5. But no matter what I did, my eyes kept drifting toward the answering machine. It sat on the table like a small black coffin with a red LED eye, and I couldn't stop thinking about how it knew things no one should know, things I didn't want to hear. My own voice screaming, my breath hitching in terror, my future self begging me to run, and the thing, whatever it was, speaking behind me like a shadow learning to speak. I rubbed my face with both hands. "You're losing your mind," I told myself. That was when the machine clicked. A soft, innocent sound, but it punched straight through my ribs. The LED glowed, flickered, and then steadied into a pulsing red heartbeat. I froze. Another click. Then a low hum began to crawl out of the speaker, like the sound of someone breathing against it from the other side. No message had played yet. This sound wasn't a recording. This was live. I stepped backward instinctively. "No! No! No!" A distorted whisper bled through the static. "You're late." The breath left my lungs. It sounded like me. Not exactly. Hoarser, more desperate. Like my voice after crying for hours or screaming in basement darkness. "The clock is almost there. Listen, listen," the voice continued. My hands began to shake violently. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Not from the machine, from the door. Slow, measured, patient taps. 3 taps, then silence. "Don't open it," the voice on the machine rasped. "No matter what you hear, no matter what it says, it's not wearing the face right." My stomach turned cold. Footsteps dragged outside the door, slow, dragging, uneven, like someone walking with broken bones. Then, "Hey," a voice called softly from the hallway. A familiar voice. My neighbor, Mrs. Florence. Except, no, it wasn't right.
It sounded like her, but wrong. In the same way a dream version of someone sounds wrong. Like the mouth was shaping the words, but the soul behind them wasn't hers. "I need help, sweetie," the voice croaked. Tap,
The answering machine hissed violently. "That's not her," my own future voice whispered. "If you open the door, it learns you. It learns your movements. It learns your face." Something scraped against the front door. Something big. My knees weakened. Another message began recording automatically, like the machine was picking up the sounds in real time. Scrape, scrape, thud. Then the creature, or imitation, spoke again, this time closer to the floor, like it was crouched. "I can smell you, darling." I slapped my hand over my mouth to keep from making a sound. Then, the doorknob began to turn. Slowly, deliberately. The answering machine emitted a sharp burst of static, almost like a scream. "Run!" my future voice begged through the machine. "Run now!" The doorknob jolted, hard. The screws in the frame groaned. Something pushed, heavy, relentless. I stumbled backward, knocking over the chair. My heart slammed against my ribs as the door bulged inward. Another shove, another. Cracks formed around the lock. Then, everything stopped. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then a whisper, just on the other side of the door, so soft it felt like it slid beneath the wood and into my ear. "You can't hide from what already has you." The answering machine beeped. A new message saved. Timestamp: tomorrow, 3:03 a.m. But the time now was 3:02 a.m. 1 minute. I stared at the machine, throat tight, forcing air back into my lungs. Then the message, my future scream, began to play, and the pounding on the door exploded all over again. The scream coming from the answering machine wasn't just a sound anymore. It was a warning shot from the future, a shockwave that rattled the air around me and froze my blood. It was my voice, but distorted, shredded like it had passed through metal teeth before reaching me. Outside the door, the pounding accelerated. Thud, thud, thud. Each impact shook the frames so violently the pictures on the wall trembled. The message kept playing. "It's inside already. Run, run!" My own terror echoed through the room. But the worst part, the part that burrowed into my spine, was the second voice captured in the recording. The one breathing behind me. Slow, wet, gurgling, like lungs filled with fluid. I spun around, even though I knew there was nothing there, nothing visible. But the pressure in the air shifted. Thick enough to taste, metallic, cold. The lights flickered. The answering machine glitched, the LED stuttering like a heartbeat going into cardiac arrest. Then the door stopped shaking. Everything went quiet. Too quiet. I stood frozen in the middle of the room, listening so hard I could hear the blood pushing through my veins. A slow, deliberate scrape passed across the door. Then something whispered through the keyhole. "I'm done knocking." My breath hitched. I clamped both hands over my mouth to choke the sound down. Then, the lock clicked. I didn't touch it. I didn't breathe on it. It didn't jiggle. It clicked, clean and mechanical. "It knows the lock," my future voice gasped through the recording. "It knows everything you've touched." The knob began to turn on its own. My legs finally listened to the primal panic screaming in my skull, and I bolted towards the back of the apartment, through the hallway, past the bathroom, into the dark bedroom. I slammed the door closed and engaged the flimsy lock, even though I knew it wouldn't matter. My chest heaved. My heartbeat hammered like a trapped bird inside my ribs. I pressed my ear against the door. Nothing. For 2 long seconds, I thought maybe, just maybe, the thing had stayed in the living room. Then I heard footsteps.
But not normal footsteps. These were wrong. Too many joints, too many contact points, like fingers and elbows and knees, and something else dragging, pulling, tapping, moving down the hallway toward me. Tap, drag, tap, drag. With each sound, the answering machine in the other room spat out bursts of static, as if reacting to the creature's proximity. I clutched the edge of the dresser, forcing myself not to hyperventilate. The hallway footsteps stopped right outside the bedroom door. I didn't dare blink. Then, a slow inhale from the other side. It sounded like a lung filling, not with air, but with me. "Open," it whispered through the wood. The same imitation voice it had used before. Someone familiar, someone safe, but cracked, warped, wrong. I backed away until my shoulders hit the wall. The lock on the door twitched. Then again, a soft, rhythmic tapping began on the other side, perfectly aligned with my heartbeat. It was syncing with me. I reached for my phone with trembling fingers. No signal. Of course. The lights went out. I swallowed a scream, hands shaking violently. In the pitch black, something brushed the bottom of the door, something soft, wet, exploring. The answering machine, still in the living room, suddenly blasted to life with another message from tomorrow. "Don't let it learn your shadow." The bedroom door handle jerked violently, then twisted. Once, twice. The wood splintered. "It's okay," the voice mimicked again, now deeper, closer. "I can be you." A long crack tore down the center of the door. My body went cold. I grabbed the only thing near me, a metal lamp, and held it like a weapon. Another crack. Another. And then, silence again. The kind that means something is changing shape. Something is preparing. A shallow whisper slid under the doorframe, breath coating the floor like fog. "Your scream fits me." The lock snapped. The door began to open, and the answering machine played one last message from tomorrow. "If it sees your eyes, it becomes you." And I realized I was staring directly at the crack in the door as something started to rise into view. The crack in the door widened just enough for a sliver of the hallway's darkness to spill into the room. But it wasn't ordinary darkness. It moved. Thick, swirling, like ink dropped into water. I froze as something began to rise into the narrow opening. Not a face, not at first, just pieces. A cheek that wasn't fully shaped, teeth forming out of shadows, adjusting, aligning. A wet,
unfinished eye sliding into place like it was being pushed from the inside of a skull made of smoke. It wasn't copying my face. It was building one, and it wasn't finished. A jagged, almost human silhouette leaned forward, the eye, not fully formed, twitching in my direction. It flickered between shapes, like it was scrolling through people it had seen. My neighbors, strangers, people I'd passed on the street. Faces blending, dissolving, reforming. Then, it stalled on one shape, one that made my stomach plummet. Me. Not perfectly, not yet, but close enough to see the intention. If it sees your eyes, it becomes you. The warning from the answering machine looped in my skull like a siren. The instinct to run warred with the instinct to hide, but both were useless. A small section of my reflected face, its version of my face, poked past the doorframe. The mouth twitched, then stretched, then split too wide. "I'm almost done," it whispered in a voice that wasn't completely mine. Yet. I stumbled backward until my heel hit the bed frame. My grip tightened on the lamp. It felt like holding a butter knife against a hurricane. The creature dragged one of its half-formed limbs across the door, leaving behind streaks of darkness that hissed and sizzled like they were burning into the wood. It wasn't breaking the door anymore. It was melting through it. Slow, steady, deliberate. I watched in silent horror as its arm, which had too many joints and bent in ways no arm should, slid under the thickest part of the door like it was slipping through soft clay. The fingertips appeared inside the room, 5 of them, then a 6th, then a 7th. They twitched, testing the floor. All the lights in the house flickered at once, then died. Something inside its new-forming chest expanded like a lung pulling in its first breath. My future voice burst from the answering machine in the living room again, louder this time, as if screaming through fire. "Don't let it finish you. Don't let it—" The message cut off with a sound like a throat being crushed. The creature slowly lifted its head. Even unfinished, its version of my face was so disturbingly close that my brain struggled to reject it, like looking at a dream of myself that had gone rancid.
A nightmare, wearing my features like a wet costume. My not-quite face smiled. It didn't blink. Its mouth opened wider and wider, ribs cracking inside the hallway wall, as though it needed more room to stretch. "Let me in," it whispered again, but now the voice was nearly perfect. Emotionless, flat, dead. Mine. It wasn't asking anymore. It was stating a fact. A promise, a claim. The shadows under the bed shivered, pulling toward it like water drawn uphill by gravity's opposite. The entire room felt like it was being inhaled by the thing. The floorboards curled upward. The temperature dropped so violently, I saw my breath plume out in front of me, but the breath didn't fade. It hung there, staying, spreading. Like the air itself was becoming solid. The creature twisted more of its body through the door, bones forming, dissolving, restructuring like clay animated by a puppeteer who didn't understand anatomy but enjoyed breaking it. And then, a sound. Not from the creature, not from me, but from inside the bedroom. Beep, beep. My old answering machine, the one from the living room, began playing inside the dark corner of my bedroom. Even though I hadn't moved it, I didn't even see it there before. A new message began. From tomorrow. From me. Whispering in a voice shredded by terror.
only becomes the one who watches it. Close your eyes. Now! The creature lunged. The door burst inward, and I had 1 second left to decide whether to believe myself from the future one last time.
I shut my eyes. Not because I was brave, but because some primal instinct, older than language, older than fear, took control of my body. The world behind my eyelids exploded in sound. The doorframe cracked like a gunshot. Something heavy slammed into the floorboards, shaking the bed. Shadows hissed like steam against hot metal. But I kept my eyes clenched shut. The message echoed in my skull. It only becomes the one who watches it. I heard it. The creature, dragging itself across the floor toward me. Its limbs bent and snapped, rearranging into new configurations as it moved. Not crawling, not slithering, something in between. Something wrong. The air around me thickened until it felt like syrup. My lungs tightened. Every breath scraped like broken glass. Then, a whisper, right next to my ear. Open them. The voice was perfect now. My voice. I shook my head violently, gripping the side of the mattress like I could anchor myself to the living world. The creature exhaled. Its breath was freezing, so cold it burned the side of my neck. It wasn't attacking. Not yet. It was waiting. Waiting for the moment my survival instincts failed. Waiting for the moment curiosity cracked open my eyelids. Waiting for the one mistake every human makes. We look. We always look. Something brushed my wrist. Something wet. Something pulsing. Something that felt like cold flesh braided with wires and tendons that vibrated like piano strings. I bit down on my tongue to keep from screaming. The creature repeated, "Open them." Its voice sharpened this time, echoing unnaturally like several versions of me overlapping out of sync. Open them, open them, open them. The pressure in the room intensified. The walls groaned. It was pulling something out of me, not physically, not yet, but the darkness around me tugged at my mind like fingers digging through memories. Childhood, school, my mother's voice, my apartment, my name. Everything flickered like someone was flipping through me, studying me, learning me, finishing me. My throat closed. I dropped to my knees, hands pressed over my eyes so tightly that spots of color exploded against my vision. The creature's breath hovered over me again, this time lower, closer to the floor. I realized it was lying under me, mirroring me, waiting like a reflection on the wrong side of a mirror. The answering machine crackled right behind my head, its speaker distorting like it was melting. "Don't move." But the creature moved for me. A long, skeletal finger slowly wrapped around my ankle. Its grip tightened, slowly, curiously, like it was trying to figure out how bones felt under skin. I clenched my teeth to keep from making a sound. Then the answering machine, the one from tomorrow,
let out the worst message yet. It wasn't a warning. It was a scream. My scream. A scream torn from lungs that weren't working right, through a throat that sounded crushed. If it touches your face, you're already dead. My breath stopped. The creature froze. Then it climbed. The bed frame cracked in half as the creature lunged. My fingers slipped. My right eyelid began to open.
My eyelid peeled open, not fully, not even halfway, just a sliver. But it was enough. The air shifted. The creature reacted like it had been starving for centuries and finally smelled food. It surged forward, its entire body snapping into a single violent motion. A sound filled the room, high-pitched, metallic, like a scream played backward through broken speakers. Shadows rushed upward. Something icy pressed against my cheek. Its fingers. It had touched my face, and the answering machine's warning detonated in my skull. If it touches your face, you're already dead. My mind splintered with panic. I squeezed my eyes shut again, but the damage had been done. The creature shivered with delight. "Perfect," it whispered. My own voice again, confident, triumphant. Not a mimicry, a claim. Its grip tightened on my jaw, angling my head upward like it was adjusting a mannequin. I felt its thumb slide over my cheekbone, tracing it, memorizing it, learning its new shape. A sound crackled behind me. Beep, beep. The answering machine. Another message from tomorrow. The voice, my voice, barely a whisper, shaking with terror. If you can still hear me, then it hasn't finished you yet. The creature stiffened. Its fingers twitched. It hissed, low, guttural, almost frustrated. Another message began playing immediately. Don't let it open your eyes for you. My stomach dropped. The creature's hands moved, not toward my throat now, but toward my eyelids. It was going to force them open. I thrashed instinctively, but its grip was impossibly strong, its fingers cold enough to numb my skin. It spoke softly. Let me see them. Let me see you. Its voice shifted through human tones like a radio scanning stations, children, elderly, men, women, before settling back on mine. Let me finish you. The mattress groaned as it pinned me down. I clawed at the sheets, at the bed frame, at the creature's wrists, but my hands slid through its flesh like it was smoke wearing skin. It pressed a finger under my eyelid. Pain exploded behind my eye. I screamed reflexively. That was its cue. Its other hand clamped over my mouth, tight, suffocating, shadows forcing themselves between my lips like cold fingers trying to pull a scream out from the inside. The answering machine crackled again, louder than before. You have one chance, just one, before it completes the copy. My vision flashed white behind my closed eyes. The creature's face hovered over me now, so close I could feel the heat from the parts of it that were becoming solid. It wasn't an unfinished version anymore. Not a twisted shape. Not a half-sculpted mockery.
It looked like me, exactly like me, a perfect reflection, except the eyes, which were empty, bottomless, hungry voids. It stroked my cheek gently, then whispered, "Open your eyes so I can take them." My entire body convulsed. It pushed harder against my eyelid, pulling, forcing. The thin line of darkness behind my eyelid widened, just a sliver, just enough to see. But then, beep, beep, a new message interrupted everything. The voice this time wasn't terrified. It was furious, desperate, determined. My voice, but older, scarred. "Whatever you do, do not let it finish the word." What word? What was it trying to say? The creature froze. Its jaw cracked open, its throat expanded unnaturally. A swirling mass of black air began to pour from its mouth. It was trying to speak again, to say something. Something final, something that would end me. It leaned down, pressing its forehead against mine. I felt its breath, my breath, on my lips. And it whispered, "Be." I shoved every ounce of strength left in my body into one violent motion. I turned my head away. The creature roared so loudly the walls shook. Its grip slipped. Not entirely, but enough. Enough for me to drag in one burning lungful of air. Enough for me to think again. Enough for me to realize the answering machine was playing the final message, the one that only plays when everything else fails. My future voice, fractured, whispering through static. There's only one way to stop it. The creature grabbed my throat, its face pressed against mine. Its voice slipped into the word again, "Be." The message continued, "You must." But then the tape distorted, sputtering, melting, unraveling. The crucial final word never came. The creature inhaled sharply. It was ready to finish its sentence. The creature's breath pressed against my lips. My own breath reflected back at me, but wrong, hollow, hungry. Its face hovered inches above mine, the final shape of me settling over its bones like a mask snapping into place. It whispered the first half of the fatal word again, "Be." I clawed at its wrists, but my fingers slipped through its shifting flesh like smoke clinging to a nightmare. The shadows under the bed writhed upward, spreading across the mattress, tightening around me like vines of living ink. A cold pressure crept into my skull, not invading, replacing, consuming. My future voice echoed from the answering machine, distorted by static and panic. "You must..." But the tape sputtered, glitched, melted. The machine let out a long, high-pitched whine, like something inside it had been burned alive. The final word, the only escape, gone. I was on my own. The creature's fingers tightened around my jaw, turning my face toward it. Its imitation of me flickered, eyes turning human, then black voids, then back again. It was almost perfect. It only needed my eyes. Its fingers slid up my cheek, toward my closed eyelids, slow, anticipating. I could feel the cold vibrating off them like static from an open grave. I couldn't breathe. The darkness around the room thickened until it felt like drowning in tar. The creature inhaled deeply, preparing to finish the word that would steal my voice, my identity, my place in the world. Its jaw cracked, distending. It whispered, "Be." I slammed my head to the side in desperation, not to escape, but because something new caught my ear, a sound the creature didn't expect. From the answering machine. Not a beep, not a warning, a noise. A breath. Not mine, not the creature's. Another version of me, from farther in the future. Then a whisper came through, soft, broken, shredded by interference. "If you can hear me, then I found a way." The creature froze.
Its grip tightened. Its void-like eyes snapped toward the machine. Static screamed through the speaker, warping into a frantic whisper. It can't imitate what it can't hear. My lungs clenched. I understood. Somehow, impossibly, my future self had figured out the loophole. The creature spoke again, trying to complete the fatal word. B. But before it could finish, the answering machine cut itself off. Not a stop, a self-destruction. A burst of pure static detonated from the speaker. A sound so violent, so dissonant, so impossible that it wasn't meant for human ears. It was meant for its ears. The creature recoiled violently, shadows snapping backward like a tide retreating. Its body spasmed, its stolen features crackling and melting into glitching fragments. My cheekbone, then gone. My voice, then gone. My jaw, then dissolving. Its imitation collapsed in on itself, convulsing like something made of wires short-circuiting. For the first time, it let go of my face. I gasped, sucking in air so cold it stung my lungs. The creature staggered backward, its chest splitting open as a torrent of corrupted shadows leaked out like smoke from a burning body. It shrieked, a distorted version of my own scream, then lunged blindly. Not at me, at the answering machine. It smashed into the nightstand, knocking it over. The machine clattered to the floor, still sizzling, still playing fragments of my future voice through broken tape. Don't let it rebuild. The creature tore at the machine, trying to silence it, but the static grew louder, climbing in pitch, turning the air into vibrating needles. The shadows around the creature peeled away from its body like strips of flesh. Its form flickered. My face, then a faceless mass, then someone else entirely, then nothing recognizable. I crawled backward, coughing, shaking, desperate to get away. The creature convulsed again, then hurled itself at me. Its hands slammed into the mattress, missing me by inches. It wasn't weakened enough. It wasn't dying, just angry and rebuilding. It dragged itself toward me again, its half-formed mouth twitching, trying to speak, trying to finish the sentence, trying to finish me. I scrambled to my feet, but the creature reached out, its long, jagged fingers wrapping around my ankle with enough force to tear skin. I screamed. It pulled, hard. My body hit the floor. The creature crawled over me, black smoke pouring from its chest, its new face almost finished. My face, a perfect copy, except for one detail. The eyes. They weren't mine. They were empty, dead, and focused entirely on me. It lowered its mouth to my ear as the final strands of its voice solidified. Then it whispered, "Become." The fatal word. The word my future self tried to warn me about. The word that completes the process. The room froze. My blood froze. The world froze. And the creature smiled.